We're Sharon and Phil, and we're spending a month living on the tropical island of Saipan. In today's video, we discover some of the island's somber World War II history and why this tiny island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean was so crucial in the battle between the two sides, America and Japan.
So we're at another of Saipan's beaches, one that is very historic. So in the Battle of Saipan in 1944, when the American forces came here and eventually captured the island from the Japanese, there was a climactic battle here, and you can actually see 3 tanks that are submerged in the water out here. I think at the moment you can actually only see 2 of them, but there's 3 American M4 Sherman tanks that were launched from a landing vessel but never made the shore because the Japanese forces were attacking them. So they don't know whether the people on the tanks made it to the shore, or whether they were, killed by bullet fire on the way. But you can actually, it's not far, it's like 300 meters out to the tank, so it's easy to get out there. So we're going to go out, snorkel out there and have a look at the tanks.
We're all the way out there, and it's so shallow you can actually walk all the way.
Why do you want to go? Why do you want to go that way for?
I find it easier to swim.
I find it easier to walk. We walked from there all the way from that tank over there. Can I see it? Just got to go back to the car over there. This is definitely the furthest we've been out, isn't it?
I'd say so.
Pretty far, isn't it?
Weird, because
the Kingfish. Yeah, definitely the farthest out. Definitely the hardest swim we've done. Why I gave up and started walking, because it's so shallow. And those guys on that boat were cheap. They came to see the tanks without getting wet. They did not get wet. And you see the huge heavy ships off the shore just hanging around, just in case. Just in case.
So we've come up to the north of the island today, to see some of the historic sites from World War II. So this is the last Japanese command post. And the map here shows the island as it was during World War II. So we're looking at it kind of side on. So this is the south and this is the north where we are. So down here we have the US invasion beaches. So that's sort of where we saw the tanks, the US tanks in the water the other day snorkeling. We're staying kind of this area, like Chalang Kanoa, kind of in that area. So we've driven up here. It took about 25 minutes to the northern area. So this was where the Japanese kind of made their last stand against the American forces during that battle. Started on June 15th, 1944. So this map shows the island from the opposite direction. So this time we're kind of looking, this part is the north and this part is the south. So again, the blue lines with the arrows are showing the US invasion routes, and the red lines showing the Japanese defense sectors. And then also down here we have some statistics of how many troops. So 71,000 US troops landed, just over 3,000 killed, 13,000 wounded. There was a Japanese military population on the island of 31,000, and of those 29,500 were killed. Only just over 2,000 survivors. So pretty complete victory. I also mentioned the Carolinian population at the time, just under 4,000, and 300 of those were killed. Yeah, and the battle lasted 24 days. So I guess this was one of the Japanese last hideouts. Feels really somber in here. You can just imagine the men, how they would have felt. They would have been scared, maybe wounded, and knowing that the end was coming. Pretty horrible place to imagine what it would have been like there. So this is the Saipan Korean Memorial Monument, which has been built here to commemorate the Koreans who were captured by the Japanese and used as slaves, forced labor during the war. So it says that they found in Tinian the remains of 5,000 Koreans who were forced by the Japanese to be soldiers, comfort women, and field workers. So they buried these war victims in the Mangyan Park, located in Shonan. And they have an annual commemoration until today. So our next stop is Banzai Cliff. So when the Japanese command realized that they had been defeated, they ordered the soldiers and the Japanese civilians to commit suicide rather than be taken captive by the American soldiers. They told them that they were devils that would torture them and eat them, so they'd be better to commit suicide, and they promised them a good life in the afterlife if they did so. So 5,000 Japanese soldiers and 20,000 civilians came to either these cliffs here, Banzai, or over there, Suicide Cliff, and jumped to their deaths. So I think the weather today gives a good example of how rough these cliffs could be. Could you imagine how desperate they must have been to think it would be better to seek death in these waters than be captured. How strongly entrenched the propaganda was that they would be tortured if they were captured. The Emperor and Empress of Japan visited here on the 28th of June 2005 to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II, and erected this monument in memorial of those that lost their lives. Prayed for eternal peace in the world. So we're at Suicide Cliff, another one of the spots where the remaining Japanese soldiers and civilians came as the advancing American troops were approaching. They were so terrified of what they might do. Yeah, even the women and children threw themselves from the cliffs. Some people killed themselves using firearms or grenades, while others chose to jump, fearing that they would be captured and tortured by the Americans. After the Americans captured the island, they began developing Saipan as a forward base to attack the Japanese. And below us here we can see Marpy Point at the northern end of the island, where an unfinished Japanese base was converted into an American airstrip where they could launch their planes to attack. From here we can see all the way south toward Garapan, the capital. You see that massive building there, the unfinished casino. You can also see the American Navy ships that are constantly posted outside the lagoon. So this is Bird Island viewpoint. Over there is Bird Island. It's white from all the bird poo on it. Although apparently there aren't as many birds on it these days as there used to be. Reminds me a bit of the Bass Rock back in East Lothian in Scotland. But we were planning to do the hike down to the beach. Apparently it's not too long a hike, like 15-20 minutes, but it is quite steep at some points. You have to kind of clamber down. But it's a bit windy today. Hopefully at some point, we've still got about 10 days here, so hopefully we can still come back and visit this another day and do the hike. But yeah, amazing views out. We're on the east side of the island now, so we're looking out to the Pacific Ocean. And yeah, quite choppy today. Quite a lot of breakers.
There's someone down there.
At this point, going south on the east side of the island, this is the end of the tarmac road. So this is the old road of the island. This is what it used to be like, just a dirt track. I guess most people would just turn back and go back around the northern part of the island and take the main road back to Garapan, but we're going to take this road because we've still got something else that we want to see down here. Ancient Chamorro latte huts, but they're not selling any coffee here. So this is the last stop on our loop around the north of the island, and this is Kalabera Cave. Got some structures here, buildings, and you see these big stones here with the wide cap on the top. They're called latte stones, and traditionally this is how the people of the islands built houses. They would build them on top of these stones because they would bury their dead underneath their houses. Keeps their family together forever, presumably. So it's well built up here, but there's like nobody here. I don't think anybody comes this far down on the dirt road. But it's got all the access ramp for disabled people. In a wheelchair, you could go right up to the entrance of the cave. So let's have a look. Look. No! Is there anybody there? So this is the viewing platform for the cave. You can't actually go any further inside the cave, but we can have a look at the stalactites and stalagmites. There's one right there above our head. And we can hear birds. There's birds nesting up there. And also you can see the roots of trees extending all the way down here from above the cave entrance. They've had to tie that rock up with wire, must be to stop it from falling. Yeah, it's weirdly quiet here, like there's no other tourists or people about. And I hadn't heard of this place on any of the videos or any of the research that I did on Saipan. This place wasn't mentioned. It was a local friend that told us about it. So yeah, I think they're probably trying to develop the structure around here to make it more accessible for tourists to come, but I think maybe until the road is improved, it probably won't become a big tourist spot, but a hidden gem. So if you are coming to Saipan, definitely add it to your list to come visit the cave. So this plant growing alongside the road, we were told that the name in the Chamorro language basically translates as old lady's turd, because it looks like an old lady's turd. Spirally and thin, I guess. There's a big bee there.
It's huge.
So we're about to join back onto the new road. Here we are, we're back on tarmac.
This is the road on the aisle.
Yeah. And look, it actually doesn't even show on Google Maps. It shows that we're basically just driving to a dead end. But there's a road, so don't be fooled. You can do it. And even though the road is so good, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour.
This is the bridge.
Uh-huh.
They did a ribbon cutting for this bridge.
Oh. Nice new bit of road.
And look, there's they call it the alligator.
Roll down the window.
They call it the alligator. There's another name for it, but it looks definitely like an alligator.
Yeah. On this lovely new bit of road, they've actually built a lovely staircase with metal railings to go down to the beach. So we've got San Juan Beach over there. Looks nice.
Thanks for joining us today. In the next episode, we're taking a day trip to Manyagaha Island for some of the best snorkeling in Saipan. See you then. Don't forget to like and subscribe.